Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Mike Janatovich, and I am the proud principal of Independence High School. And I'm thankful to be here today with these wonderful students to have an opportunity to present the candidates for the School Board of Education and City Council. First off, a little bit of a background about these students. So you're looking at some Independence AP government students who did a tremendous job last year. And one of our focuses at the high school is trying to find opportunities to engage students in authentic learning experiences. And nothing is more authentic than providing an opportunity within their city to present candidates for a local election. Because we all know local elections are really what drive our city, what really drives our communities, and what makes our places so special. So I thank you all for being here and being vested and interested in the Independence community. And I know these students have taken a lot of time to make sure that this night is a great success for everybody that is here. To those that are in the crowd that submitted questions, they formulated the questions surrounding those things that you put into place. So some of the things we maybe had to combine because there were a lot of submissions on there, but we do want to make sure that we thank you for submitting those because it's important to get the questions answered and to have some of the things out there that were there. So I want to share a little bit about how this is going to work. So the students are going to come up, and first we're going to introduce the school board candidates. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to share a little bit about their background, and then students are going to ask questions. To not have redundancy in going down the line and asking one question and then having candidate answer and the next one answer and the next one, and we're not going to do that. We're going to ask a specific question to a candidate, and they're going to have a minute and a half to answer that question. At the conclusion of that question, then they will ask, does any other candidate have anything else to contribute to that question or to that topic? So that way, if a candidate is interested in talking about that topic, they will be given the opportunity to do so. Candidates do not have to chime in on every single topic, and if somebody shared something exactly that their thoughts, they can agree with it on there. But we don't expect it to go down the line because I know there could be a lot of redundancy that goes along with that. So we're trying to get a variety of questions out there for all of the candidates. We do have timers in here. They are going to be raising up signs. We are going to let the candidates finish their thought. If the minute and a half happens, we're going to let them finish their thought. But candidates, we please ask that you don't start a new thought at that point in time. We do have some quick fire questions potentially at the end if we get to that point. Might be asking you just rapid fire, 30 seconds, give us some of your thoughts on some of these topics because there are some things that might be quickly and easier able to go through for them to get that. I do want to acknowledge this, that these are students. We recognize that this forum is new. It might be a little bit different, but we've worked really hard on this. So we're going to do our absolute best to make sure that this is the best experience for the candidates. We're going to do the best to make sure that this is the best experience for all of those in attendance. And we're going to do what we can to make sure that this experience is the best for our students. But before we begin this event, I do want to acknowledge Mayor Kurtz, who would like to address the crowd prior to our students beginning this event. Mayor Kurtz.
Welcome to the Civic Center, and welcome candidates and candidates for council and the residents. Leadership, I appreciate that. It's great because I just talked about leadership in the very room a week ago when I did the State of the City. I talked about leadership. You are the future. We're excited about you taking charge of this opportunity. Candidates to share and express their thoughts on various subjects. City's not been involved at all other than opening this beautiful facility for you to take charge of the opportunity to express your position and get them to talk about the future of the city, the future of with respect to the schools or the community. It's an important election coming up. I appreciate the fact that everybody's here and you're going to be taking the time to vote because it's really important because the future is now. If we don't make good decisions and elect the people you elect are your representatives to make decisions for you. We talk about all these different issues of mandatory referral and things like that, but you elect people to lead and to make decisions for you. If you don't like the way they lead, then you move them out. And I've been very fortunate to be able to lead for a couple decades. So Good luck to the class. This is a great forum this evening. We thank you on behalf of the community and wish you the best. Thank you. God bless.
At this time, I'm going to begin to call up the students. For the school board, we do have Tatiana Rangelovic and we have Nora Alexa, who are going to be moderating the conversation for school. At this time, I believe Tatiana is going to come up first.
Good evening. Start will ask each of the candidates to share a bit of their background. Starting off, Mr. Fuller, can you tell us a bit about your background?
Testing. Yeah, here we go. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joseph Moeller. I'm a 2005 IHS graduate, along with my wife, Rebecca, who also graduated from Independence in 2004. Together, the two of us have 4 children, young children, ages 8, 6, 3, and 1. We're proud to be raising them as third-generation Independence students. I'm running because I deeply care about our schools and our community. I know firsthand that Independence builds confident, capable students, and I want to make sure that every child continues to have that same strong foundation, not just for school, but for life. Professionally, I'm the Vice President of Business Analytics for Haslam Sports Group, leading a team of specialists that use data to drive smart, efficient decisions and collaboratively optimize operations. Those are skills that I believe translate directly to being a responsible steward of taxpayer dollars while setting up our students for success. I've also served on the Independence Planning Commission for the past 4 years, gaining valuable experience in collaboration and strategic planning. Our district faces serious challenges, including funding uncertainty, aging facilities, preparing students for a rapidly changing world. My biggest priorities are 1, fiscal responsibility, smart, transparent use of funds with a student's first mindset. 2, safe, modern facilities that are built with future in mind. 3, student readiness, supporting mental health, STEM studies, the arts, extracurriculars, and career skills. By bringing people together, thinking strategically, and planning responsibly, we can make Independence schools stronger than ever for our community and for our students. I'd be honored to earn your trust and your vote November 4th. Thank you.
Very much. Peters, would you like to share about yourself?
I would, thank you. Everybody, my name is Scott Peters. I am also an Independence graduate of all 3 schools, IHS class of 93. My wife, Rebecca, and I have 3 children. My son, Charlie, is in 8th grade. My daughter, Evie's in 6th, and son, Wes, is in 4th. So I have a great view of kind of all schools, right? So seeing from the beginning till now going into high school. My professional for 20 years, I've worked at Finit as a managing partner and data architect, helping Fortune 500 companies implement financial software. So I work with teams, projects, people around the world, helping them kind of analyze their problems, implement that software, and then deliver success for them. In the community, I'm also very active. So I was the treasurer of the co-op preschool for 5 years. I'm currently the treasurer of the Blue Devil United Soccer Club. I also coach any of maybe your children or your grandchildren. Hopefully everyone had a great experience with me as a coach. I've coached probably 30 teams over the past 10 years. Kids were growing. Lastly, I get to volunteer. When each of my kids were in 2nd grade, I got to go into the classroom every week and help teach. So I taught story problems with them, got to work with them. I volunteered. I was lucky enough to go every week to kind of see them. I would love my why as why I'm running. It's truly, I think I could be a real asset to this, my school board and community. My analytical background, problem solving, financial intelligence, and just love for the community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rager, Shedron, would you like to go next?
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Shadron, and I'm honored to stand before you as a candidate for school board. As a lifelong resident of Independence, I attended St. Michael's Elementary School. I graduated from Independence High School in 2002. and then I attended Ohio Northern University and graduated in 2008 with a doctorate of pharmacy degree. Today I work as a clinical pharmacist, and I specialize in critical care. I believe this helps me with problem solving. I am used to working as a team in the hospital, and I would like to bring this to the table. My husband and I are now raising our 2 children in the district at IPS and IMS. If elected, I want to help ensure that the caliber of our schools matches the caliber of our community. In every classroom, every program, and every opportunity we offer our children. Strong schools are the foundation of strong communities, and the decisions we make today shape the success of our children for decades to come. I am committed to listening to parents and collaborating with our educators and leading both with fiscal responsibility and clear focus on student success. Together, we can ensure our schools live up to the high standards of our communities. Our community deserves schools not only educate, but inspire, not only spend, but invest wisely, and prepare our children to thrive in an ever-changing world. The future of our students, or the future of our schools, is the future of our community, and I believe that it's worth protecting and strengthening for the generations to come.
Thank you. Ms. Sears, it's your turn to share about your background.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity of being here tonight. I am also an Independence High School graduate of class of 1992. My husband, Eric, and I have raised our 6 children here in Independence, this wonderful community. Our 4 oldest have graduated from Independence, and we still have one as a senior in high school and also a sophomore. I am a graduate of Ohio State University. I have my bachelor's degree of science in health and physical education. And I am just really looking forward to continuing. It's been a privilege to serve. This is my 8th year. I've never been more excited to continue this journey. And I just thank you for this opportunity for tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Vijay Vergia, would you like to share a bit about your background?
Sure, thanks. Kathleen Vergia. I also am an alumni. I will continue the trend of Independence High School, class of 1997. My 2 boys are recent graduates, class of 23 and 24. I went to Ohio State University and graduated with a bachelor's in chemical engineering. And then I went on, after working for 5 years, to get an MBA from Baldwin Wallace. I currently work at Progressive Insurance, and I manage a team of engineers, and we do projects. So we're in charge of project management across the company. It could be anything from implementing new software to saving costs so that we can keep continuing our trend of growing in pursuit of being the #1 insurance company. My experience with the schools, I have been the past president, vice president, and secretary of the Music Boosters for 5 years. I was the past secretary of the IHS PTO for 3 years. I was the past committee secretary of Boy Scout Troop 297 for over a decade. And I have been a past board member of my national engineering sorority, Phi Sigma Rho, for almost 8 years. My degree and my certification in Lean Six Sigma as a master black belt, that whole entire certification is for process optimization, driving continuous improvement, making sure you do things efficiently and effectively, as well as with high quality. I believe that these skills will make me an asset to your board.
Thank you very much. This time we will now move on to questions.
Hello and welcome and thank you for being here. All right, our first question is for Mrs. Sears. We were wondering what you have done over the past 1 to 2 years to contribute to the success of ILS.
Sorry. All right, 1 to 2 years, what I've done to contribute in my time being on here. So I figured since I'm the only one on here that I would probably have this question. I would say in my early years, I asked questions. I think it's really important to ask questions. It helps understand the why. I think that's important. Accountability. Within my first 2 years on the board, we went for a levy for new buildings. That failed. Those failures help us get information now and what we need to do down the road. And then a few months after that, we had the pandemic, which just obviously threw us off our rockers because there were so many unknowns. But we were the only school in Cuyahoga County, a public school, that came back to school in person in August. And that was a huge positive for us because our kids are best in school. But I will say, without a doubt, my biggest contribution as one of 5 was the hiring of our new superintendent and treasurer. We knew 5-0 that these 2 were the choices for us that we wanted to go forward with. But I can sit here today and say 100% without a doubt that we made the right choices. And the decisions that they've made going forward, what they have done in less than a year and a half has been just phenomenal. And that's why I have excitement at this time of more than I ever have had moving forward and all that we have to accomplish down the road. So.
Thank you. Now let's transition to the candidates who are running for their first term as school board members. How have you been preparing yourself over the past 1 to 2 years to be an effective board member? Yeah. Let's start with Mr. Moeller.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mentioned a little bit in my opening that I've been a member of the City Planning Commission for the past 4 years. I think just being involved with the community and understanding what's going on in the community is a big first step. I didn't mention this in the opening, but the others, I very much volunteer a lot of time in the community, coaching youth sports, just spending time with our children and other children as we're coaching a lot of the teams, and just understanding and working with the other parents, what some of the desires and the challenges that they feel are on the day-to-day within the district. So it's good to just, I think, have an ear to the ground and just understand what the temperature is, the residents, among the parents within the district. That's probably been the biggest, separate from, I mentioned my professional background. We do a lot with data analytics, a lot of ability to problem solve and critical think. And when I went to Hiram College, I studied computer science and biology, and I think a lot of those skills transferred into my professional life today, and I would continue.
Thank you. Now moving on to Mr. Peters.
Same question, I'm assuming? Yes.
Everyone's answering.
Great. So yeah, I've kind of taken similar approaches, Joe. One is I have been talking to a lot of people and some current board members just to understand what's happening, what's the plan, what's the deal, what are we doing. So just learning what people want, what they're concerned about, what the board is concerned about. I'll echo Carrie's, very excited new superintendent and treasurer. With that, I've looked into past numbers. So probably like a lot of you don't go to every school board meeting or know everything that a school board does, or even what the city does. Just don't dive into those finances, those numbers, and see what they are. So I started looking back at some past years, saw some trends that were not great, and started to see this current year a trend turning. And I think that is great news for everybody in this room, and something that I would love to continue to help keep a focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Miss Rega Sheridan.
Thank you for the question. So from the very beginning, I dove right in and joined the PTO as a chairperson, which I've been doing for the past 5 years. And now I'm on the executive board of the middle school PTO. And that helped me understand and listen to the parents and the administration to see what was important to them, what changes they would like to see implemented. I've also been a part of the Key Communicators Group, which is part of the district, a group of community members, business owners. It's an invitation. You have to receive an invitation to this group, and we talk about what's going on in the community. We help educate each other and then go out into the community and spread knowledge from this community, figure out what our community feels is the most important. I'm also a coach. I coach volleyball for CYO, for St. Michael's. And with all of this experience in communicating with you, parents, other community members, I wanted to do more. So for the past 3 years, I've been attending board meetings and trying to learn more about the process, learning about things that I would like to see different. And that is why I'm interested, and that is why I ran as a candidate for school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Mrs. Vijay Vergia.
Thank you. What I've been doing to prepare for this role is that I have been attending our board meetings. Many times I am person at the high school in the media center attending. I've been there with the 2 reporters that report the meeting minutes in our Independence Civic and Gazette. I also spend time, I met with current and past board members for Independence, as well as other districts. I've talked to folks in Hudson, as well as Brecksville, Broadview Heights, and some of their board members. I have been participating in our Independence Alumni Association, listening to the folks that attend those meetings and participating and understanding what their needs are for the district, as well as those that don't live here anymore but have a strong passion for our legacy as alumni. And then I have obviously, as I mentioned, been highly active at the IHS level. Once I was president as the Music Boosters, that's when I started attending the board meetings. And then I also have spent time most recently reviewing the proposals from our last failed levy and then comparing them to what the current proposals are and what's maybe potentially coming. Understanding maybe why more things failed last time, what we're trying to do differently, how do we steer this in a different direction, and then understanding how do we meet our community needs as well as our school needs.
Thank you so much. Moving on to our next question.
Moving forward, each question will cover as previously. If you want to contribute else, you may at the end. Starting off for Mr. Moll, one of the most important rules for a member is to adopt and revise policies that directs how the school operates. What policy that the Board of Education may currently have that may need to be revised in your opinion? I apologize. I'll restate. One of the most important roles of a school board member is to adopt and revise policies that directs how the school operates. What is a current policy that the Board of Education has they currently need to be revised?
Great question. Well, you know, being completely honest with you, I don't know all the policies as being new to the, running for the board, but I know one of the newer ones that came about was cell phone and technology use policies. So I think that's one that it's just such an ever-evolving landscape right now, and parents and children alike want to make sure that they have some sort of contact and connection with their parents and families. There's all sorts of challenges with that, and that's not only here, that's statewide, that's nationally, that's worldwide right now. So I think as the evolution of smartphones and social media and internet connected devices continues to evolve, that's going to be something that needs to naturally be.
Anyone else have a thought they would like regarding that question?
I would if you don't. So being on the board, many of you, if you've looked at our meeting minutes, we are updating policies by the dozens. It's because it hasn't been done. And this just goes back to our superintendent and what we are trying to do and update all the things that we need to do. They're working tirelessly, but it builds a framework for us, really. It just gives us a way that we can, follow these, our administration can follow. We have something to go by. So I'm appreciative of all the things that they are doing, and updating these policies is much needed. So.
Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to regarding that question? Thank you. Moving on, what are the top 3 challenges currently facing our schools? And please give a short just idea of how you would address please give a short idea on how you would address one of them.
Thank you. With the time limit, 3 might be tough.
Yeah,
No,
I
just kidding.
apologize.
So 3 challenges, the question that we're facing. 3 off the top of my head. 1, we do have a facilities challenge, if you ask me. I know it's a tough subject to tackle, but 2 of our facilities are very old, and there was a recent study, maybe not recent, but just the analysis of that, right? So that's a big concern. I think many people who have children in the school or grandchildren, also a concern of the future of Independence. Jen mentioned, like, strong schools truly are what make a community. So I feel that is a big challenge. How we solve it, I don't know if I'm ready to answer that one yet. I need to get more information once I am on school board. Another challenge, I know this is a challenge for some. I don't see it as much of a challenge, but students leaving the district, it's a challenge. I don't know that it needs to be completely addressed or challenged. I think a solution to that is we simply make our district as good as it can be, as well as advertise that we are as good as can be. I think sometimes we give ourselves maybe a bad rap that we are not as good as we are. I challenge that looking at the high school in particular, primary school in particular, are fantastic schools. Middle school is on the right track now, and I think that is continue to focus on those individual schools. The administration is in place, and I think that's the solution. Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything else they wish to that question? All right, Ms. Verghese.
I think another challenge that we're currently facing is our funding challenge. That is something not unique to our district, but it is ongoing throughout the state of Ohio. Our funding was declared unconstitutional more than 2 decades ago and has still not been rectified. There's many different issues and things that we could do to address some of this. I know our new treasurer with the new superintendent and our board have been working very diligently to understand our current funding levels, what's changing. There's lots changing with the budgeting, the schedule of the budgeting, and I think that they're doing a really proactive job of trying to figure out how we can address this, knowing that the issue and the root cause of the issue really is down in the Capitol.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Ms. Riga-Shudrin?
Thank you. To what Scott Peters spoke of the retention issue. We have, the school board has brought this up many times that they would like to focus on the retention of 8th grade to 9th grade and maintaining our high schoolers, but I've noticed that there may be a retention problem earlier on, and if we take a look at the numbers in the primary school, there are numerous families leaving for numerous reasons, but maybe we can do a closing survey of why people are leaving, but I don't think we notice those numbers as much because especially since COVID, there's been an influx of new families coming to the district. So 5, 7 families leave at one time, but we're actually getting 5 more families in at the same time. So we can't maybe change why children are leaving for high school because they're a legacy or they offer things we don't offer, like hockey or lacrosse, but why are elementary families leaving? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have anything they wish to contribute? Mr. Moeller?
Yeah, just one more thing to add to what the other candidates had already mentioned was busing. Busing is an issue. It's an issue everywhere, trying to find great bus drivers that are willing to contribute and be here. And I mean, it's got to be a reliable form of transportation that we can have to put the safety of our children in the hands of good bus drivers. And we have to have a good quantity of them in order to be able to fulfill that as a need and as a service to families. I know there's certainly a lot of families that have other alternatives, but there's also others that don't. So we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to bridge that for all of our residents and our students.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else anyone wants to contribute? All right. Moving on to our next question. Ms. Rega Shidrin, how do you decide which issues to compromise on versus what issues to remain firm on?
Well, that's a difficult question to phrase, but I believe that you have to be open-minded, okay? And I never want to make a decision by myself. This is a board. We are a group of 5 individuals, or the school board is a group of 5 individuals, and you have to work as a team. However, I don't believe that it always has to be a unanimous decision. You have to stand firm in your beliefs and what the community, the educators, the parents, administration, but everybody, you have to take all of that input and you have to make an educated decision. And just because it may be a 4-to-1 vote, you can't be pushed one way. Like, then it's a 4-to-1 vote. You have to stand firm in what you believe in. And what that brings to the table is you want somebody that's going to do that for you, that's going to listen and help your voices be heard and reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does any other candidate has anything they wish to contribute to that question? All right then, thank you. All right. Okay. Mrs. Vijay Vergia. The district has talked about building new schools. What is your perspective on this topic?
Thank you for the question. Yes, as I mentioned, as one of the things that I've been doing to prepare for a role in the board has been to review our past proposals and our levies that failed, as well as the current proposals that we've been receiving for potential new build. I do obviously love our schools. I went here and I graduated from here. There's a lot of great memories. My background in chemical engineering and running capital projects also helps me understand how to build something and then also how to maintain it. If you don't do regular capital maintenance, which is large improvements, if there's not the funding to get that done, your buildings will decline to a point where you can no longer reliably keep them operating. We are dangerously close to that point. At this point, looking at the proposals that have been presented to the board, I think at this point it does make sense to consider a new build, just knowing that the capital improvements that should have been done over the last 10 to 15 years weren't necessarily able to be made.
Thank you. Would any other candidate like to weigh in on this? Mr. Mueller?
I agree with Kathleen. It's really important that we're starting to take a look at what the next chapter means for our facilities. But I do think it's important that as we go down that path, we look at it and evaluate it in the most optimal way as possible. How are we maximizing this, how far those dollars can go, right? Because we understand this is a lot of money that we're talking about, and it is, from all the reports that have come through so far, it is the cheapest of the options versus renovating and band-aiding existing facilities and that solution. But it is still important that even if we go down that path of pushing for a new building, that we do it in the way that's so much financially responsible as much as we can control.
Thank you. Would any other candidate? Oh, Mr. Peters.
Yeah, just one add-on. I mean, most of us are obviously public school proponents. We're very excited about our schools. I think as a board or a potential board member, it's not just saying we need the greatest and best of a new school and everyone out here pay for it, because that's what our kids need. So it's kind of really thinking like, what do they need? It may not be the gold standard, but it's better than what we have. Let's do it. It may mean how can we get creative in finding financing for this? It may be not just asking voters to pay for everything. What can the city do? So it's just kind of that creative thinking, working, knowing that everybody, we're all in this together to help, build it, keep Independence the way it is. So thanks.
Thank you. Mrs. Sears?
Thank you. I do want to say thank you to each one of you that have said something about that, because it is something that we talk about all the time. And when we think about bringing a bond issue to all of you, we have done our homework. We're doing our homework. We want to, like I said earlier, learn from 2019 when we failed. What are you telling us? And you mentioned this too, Scott, we don't want the best of the best. We want our needs met of what, not getting the Rolls Royce of a school just because we're Independence. Our buildings are 65, 70 years old. They're larger than what we need. The systems are inefficient, and it is going to cost less to build new than to renovate. So all I ask is that you keep an open mind as we continue to educate what we are going to do, why we're going to do it, and what we're going to need, and to not come into this with already just saying no. We are trying to turn over every rock to make sure that, we don't burden the taxpayers, to the point of, hurting families. So we are going to do our best to be good stewards of the money that we get, and just ask you to please keep an open mind as we put the information out. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rega Sheridan?
Thank you. I completely agree with what everybody's saying up here. However, I do want to ask some difficult questions if I get elected to the school board. We here in Independence have a very high rate per pupil that we're receiving from our own taxpayer money in the state. So I'd like to kind of know where the money has gone. And this may not be this administration, the school board, the superintendent, but over the years, why have these improvements not been made? Why weren't the buildings maintained? I mean, they are older, so some of it makes sense, but compared to other districts, we spend a lot per pupil. So ultimately, the voters are going to decide, but I would like to ask more hard questions.
Thank you. Moving on to Mrs. Sears. How do you intend to support and contribute to the students' success when preparing them for college or the workforce?
Thank you. So we do have several new counselors in Independence this year. I think it starts with them. I think they lead our kids down the road of what are your interests? What are your strengths? What are you thinking? We have our CVCC, which I feel like is a gem in our district. I have a daughter that graduated last year in EMS and fire, and she started a job right out of high school working for an ambulance transport, and now she's in paramedic school. And she's not taking the college route. As we know, college is way more expensive than it was when we went to college, and it's not for everyone. And with what homes cost and college costs and student loans, I think having an option of not going to college, maybe what's best for people. So we've got the trades in our CVCC. We have I know we're working on partnerships within our city to do some internships to kind of take kids under their wing. So we are really trying to provide whatever avenue the kids are wanting to take to give them an experience for them to make some decisions.
Thank you. Mr. Moeller?
Just to add to that, I think the job landscape right now, as we're looking out the next few years, we're on the brink of probably a major shift just from a technological advancement standpoint. I don't have the answers necessarily on that, and I don't think anybody frankly does. And I think it's something where 20 years ago they'd say, well, it's going to be tough to tell what the job market looks like in 20 years. But I think the reality is in 5, 10 years, it's going to be drastically different than it probably is today, just given some of the technological advances over the past few years and where that's going. So I think it's really important that we work together collaboratively as a board to really figure out what that means to set our students up for success in the real world.
Thank you. Mr. Peters?
Great point, Joe, and exactly kind of like what I think we can do at not just as a potential board member, but as a community, right? If you look at everyone up here, we have pretty interesting careers, ones that are not doctor, lawyer, whatever, and it's kind of like us as a community bringing that to the schools, showing, hey, this might be a great career path to you, and let's talk about it in middle school as opposed to like your junior year when you're thinking of what do I want to do in college or at CVCC. So just as a community, as parents, as grandparents, as everyone, just kind of let's leverage everybody, help bring that to the schools.
Thank you. Ms. Vijay Vergia?
I agree with everything that's been said so far. One thing I would like to add is it's also so important to help our students understand what they maybe don't want to go into and what they don't excel in. One of my children, my oldest, he did start at CVCC in a program for engineering and architecture, and after the first year, he realized that was not the program for him. He completely pivoted based on that experience and went into a completely different major and is so thrilled with what he's going into. So I think it's so important to help those students have those hand-on learning experiences. And like Joe said as well, right now our technology is moving so quickly. My youngest son went to the CVCC for computer programming. He started with almost enough credits as a sophomore. And the things that he thought he wanted to go into, already that landscape has changed, right? Like computer programming is really not really needed as much as it was because of all the AI. What is that going to look like in 3 years when he's graduating? So he's already looking at that at the college level, but how do we start having those discussions and helping our students at the middle and high school level evaluate those things?
Thank you. Moving on. Okay. Mr. Moeller, some have shared a concern over busing and congestion, specifically at the primary school. Do you share these concerns? Please explain.
Absolutely. I've got 2 children right now that go to the primary school, and 2 more coming up through the systems that will be going through the primary school unless there is a shift in the building situation, as we talked about already. But it's flat out just unsafe. It's not a safe situation right now. There's so much congestion and traffic going down Hillside. So there's safety issues just from the drivers and people trying to get around, people that are not there to pick up kids, but people trying to just get down Hillside because they live at the bottom of Hillside and they're coming home from work. It's not a good situation for those people. It's not a good situation for the parents, for the children, everybody sitting in cars, worrying about traffic going around. Officer Green, I can't say enough about how amazing he does of a job, but he's one amazing officer that stands there and directs traffic in a great way, but it's so unsafe even for him to be out there the way it is. Second, I think just having one access road to that building is a separate safety issue, aside from just the congestion of traffic, but it should help alleviate some of that traffic. So yeah, I would definitely be for finding a solution to improving that layout.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to contribute to that topic? All right, moving on.
All right, Mr. Peters, how do you plan to advocate for public education in your role as a school board member?
Excellent question, and I feel like you're tapping my phone or something because that's all I try to do is advocate for public education. I'm a public education kid. Again, private education, if that's your route, that's great. I don't think we need to say, come to public, but I think it's a fantastic opportunity we have in schools, and I will continue to just speak my mind to everybody that I know. I am not shy when speaking about that. I will also try to find alternatives to help our public funding crunch. What that means, I don't know yet. I'm not on the board. I'm not, working on that, but that is what I will try.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything else they wish to contribute to that question? All right. Moving on. Ms. Rega Shidran, fiscal responsibilities is something that voters ask from board members. How will you ensure resources are distributed equitably across the district? Sorry. Fiscal responsibilities is something voters ask for from board members. How will you ensure resources are distributed equitably across the district?
Thank you. I think that we need to speak to the educators and administration and see where those needs are, and we need to evaluate and make a list and figure out where, what's the most prudent to take care of first. I believe that preparing our kids for the future is the most important, and that it needs to be divided between all three schools, but especially the high school. I mean, preparing them for the future is our goal, and we need to provide them with the best education, and the foundation is important, and we need to just listen and come together as a group and work together more. More collaboration is key. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to contribute to that question? All right. Moving on. Ms. Vijay Verghia. Safety is one of our top concerns. How would you work to ensure a safe environment for all the members of the Independence school community?
Thank you for this question. Safety encompasses so many different aspects within our district, right? You're looking at physical safety as well as online safety. It encompasses our students as well as our teachers and staff and administration. One of the things that I would like to see, as I mentioned, I had been volunteering with the Boy Scouts of America for over a decade. One of the things that's required is all volunteers do get a background check and registration. As somebody who's been the president of the Music Boosters, the secretary of the PTO, volunteered with the PTOs at the middle and the primary school, we have people in our schools every day as these volunteers and exec board members. There's really no volunteer check that happens currently, and it does potentially leave us at a risk for our students in our district. I'd like to see something that we could do to make that a little bit more stringent, knowing the excess that the exec boards and the volunteers have to our students, our staff, and our administration.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to contribute to that? Yes.
Thank you. Our student safety always has to be our highest priority, and when the students feel secure, that's when they're able to learn and grow and thrive. And I think that not only is the traffic pattern a problem at the primary school, but also there's no secure vestibule. And when you first walk in the building, that's it, you have full access to the building. And I understand that it's difficult to invest that kind of money if we're going to be building a new school. However, even if the bond passes, it's going to take time, and it's not safe. It's probably our least secure building, and it really should be addressed because those children can't wait 3 years for safety. It needs to be addressed now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to contribute to that question? All right. Wait. Sorry, I didn't know if someone reached for a mic or not. All right. So next we'll be moving on to our quick hitter questions. These questions are only 30 seconds, but each person will be able to answer.
Okay, first question. What is your view on the current cell phone policy? Mr. Moeller.
So current policy, I like that no cell phones are allowed in the primary school because that's where my kids are at right now. I like that there's a policy in place to really limit it at the middle school as well. Prefer leave it at home. If you have to have it with you, don't have it out anywhere. At the high school, it's a little bit more lenient. You know, again, I think this is one where we've got to really continue to keep a pulse on the ever-changing landscape. I think there's a difference between a cell phone, a smartphone, and something that has unfiltered access to the internet and social media. So we need to really make sure we're understanding what those differences are.
Thank you. Mr. Peters.
Yep, not a whole lot to add other than I do think parents would like to keep in touch at times. So if there's any chance to enhance the policy, I will look into that to say, hey, maybe before lunch, you can check your messages in the middle school, but don't bring your phone out to recess, because I also don't agree with that. So that's kind of where I stand on that. But it's been a great step, I think. Last year, in my middle schooler did not have that. And recess, they're looking at phones. I don't think that's the solution. So great job.
Thank you. Mrs. Rega Sheridan.
I completely agree. I think the cell phones are a distraction in the classroom, so I support the current policy. However, we have no way of communicating with our children. There's no more payphones. There's no access, so we need to be able to communicate with them because plans do change, and they have more freedom, especially starting at the middle school. One of the problems I see at the middle school is there's no secure place to store these phones. So none of the lockers are locked, so there is no safe place. So maybe that's something we can address, just so that they don't have to have them out, but we can still reach them after school. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Sears.
Yes, I am happy of our cell phone policy. It's age appropriate per building. I think that we are going to continue to make tweaks through this policy to see how things work. I also think they're distracting. I want my kids talking to other kids and not sitting at a table or in class and looking down at their phone. They need community, they need engagement, and we have access to our secretaries and our teachers through email and phone calls. So I think that is other ways that we can be in touch with administration if there were anything that were to come up.
Thank you. Mrs. VJ Vergia.
I don't have a whole lot to add. I agree with everybody else. I think it is age appropriate. I think especially once you get to the high school level, your cell phone needs to be a tool, right? These folks are going to go on to careers, to jobs, to college. They need to know when it's appropriate and how to best use it to the best of their ability to give them benefits and value-added options.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question.
All right. Our next quick hitter is for Miss VJ Vergia. What is the best thing about our schools?
The best thing about our schools, I think, is the camaraderie our students have with our teachers and staff. I mean, you can see how much everyone really cares about our students and how much our students care about our teachers and our staff. As a parent of new grads, I still see my students interacting with their past teachers and their past administrators and the past staff at the buildings. Mr. Dave at the primary school was a favorite of my oldest all the way up through high school, and I love the fact that they have that camaraderie.
Thank you very much. Ms. Sears, it's your turn for the question.
Yes, I do agree. The smallness of our community makes us feel like family. We look out for one another. I appreciate that there's eyes everywhere. I tell my kids there's eyes everywhere. I will find things out. And I appreciate that because we take care of each other. It takes a village. We don't do that as much anymore because of our phones, but I do appreciate the smallness and people looking out and caring for each other.
Thank you. Ms. Rega Shidrin.
I appreciate our class sizes. I think it individualizes the attention that each child gets, and it gives them the opportunity to even split them up further and focus on their individual needs. I also appreciate our district giving us more opportunities and finding niches and ways that we can, provide gifted programs or special needs and everything they go out of their way to do for us.
Thank you. Mr. Peters.
I do think the best thing about our schools is our schools, our community. If we lose, and this is me being a public school proponent again, if we lost our schools, I think our community would really suffer. Whether you think it or not, I just feel like that brings us together, watching a football game, cheering for the band, seeing a performance with the drama club, all that. So that was, I think, our best asset is.
Thank you very much. Mr. Moeller.
I like what everybody said, but I'm going to say the best part about our schools are our passionate staff, because it really starts with our staff and leaders. We've been so fortunate to have incredibly long tenured staff, people that I had as teachers, people that my kids are still having as teachers. We need to do a really good job of making sure we can get new staff as some of our existing staff retire, so that the next people that come in can continue to carry that torch, carry that passion, ignite the students in what their passion is about, so that we can keep moving forward as generations.
Thank you very much. And then for our last question, this will also be a quick hitter. Miss Vijay Verghia, what is your best hope for the future of our school district?
What is the best hope for the future of our district? I think it is to leverage our relationships within our schools and with our community to make sure that we can be relevant and keep up with the changing times and the technology, so that our next generation of students are also well prepared. They go on to have some great careers, and they come back to continue to reap the benefits and give back to our community in Independence.
Thank you. Next up, Ms. Sears.
Could you repeat the question just so I can? She had such a great answer.
Oh, absolutely. What is your best hope for the future of our school district?
Oh, my best hope is just to continue this trajectory that we're on right now with our new administration. We had 18 new staff members added this year. As you said, Joey, that, to continue that legacy of our veteran and amazing teachers, but that our kids just come together and get what they need, achieve the academic excellence that we will provide for them, and go out into the world and come back to Independence.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rega Shidran.
I want to ensure that our schools remain strong and efficient, and my hope for the future is that with our new curriculum implementation, that this takes us back to the top 20 in Northeast Ohio. I feel that the new curriculum is going to make us soar in the right direction and just make us stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Peters.
Yeah, I echo that. I think we are on the right trajectory. I think it's continuing that path, right? So everyone sees school ratings come out. I know they're not the be-all, end-all of everything, but there is no reason that us as school board candidates on the board, you as citizens, should have a top-notch school. And that's my hope for the future, as well as to continue paying off bonds early. That's fantastic. Let's keep doing that, and that will lead to great new schools as well.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Moeller.
My hope for the future is really just continued strong community and school collaboration. And by community, that's not just the city, that's all of you, that's the residents. You're all very much a part of this. This school can't thrive without the residents. It's just such an important collaboration. And that's what's really going to bring success, not only to the schools, but also back to the community as well.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Thank you to the candidates of the Board of Education for being here tonight, for answering the questions, for elaborating on and showing how important this is for not only our students, but our schools, but the entire Independence community. At this time, we're going to make the transition from the school board to the city council candidates. So we're going to have a little bit of a break, but then we'll come back and we'll begin the second part of this program very shortly here. Thank you. All right. Louder? Is this too? Can we hear me now? Everybody hears? All right, we're going to get going. Mr. McGuinness. This microphone isn't the same as the microphone in the auditorium. When you talk, it just boom reverberates. So first and foremost, thank you to everybody that has stayed for the second portion of this, where we have our city council candidates up here for their portion of this evening. Again, we have two students with us that are going to be moderating the conversation with the questions that they have. We have Grady and we have Matthew up here who are going to do a tremendous job going through the process. Very similar format. Again, we took the questions that were submitted. They formulated questions. The candidates did submit bios, so Matt and Grady did create some individual questions in the get to know you portion based off of some of the things, so you can get to know them as well. We will have the opportunity for all candidates, when it is an all candidate question, to be able to respond to the other candidates. I think that's a great opportunity to be able to share all sides and all perspectives to be able to be heard in this evening. Again, for those of you that weren't here for my initial introduction, these are students here, and I do 100% recognize that this might not be 100% perfect, but we have students that completed AP Government at a very high level that now are taking that learning to that next level and actually implementing it in a real life situation with real life candidates that are going to be making a huge impact on the city of Independence. So before we begin, we do have two candidates that are not here, both of which were very disappointed that they were not able to make it. They had prior engagements, but we do feel it's important that those candidates are recognized and that their biographies are shared. So at this time, I'm going to call up Addison Kohler, who is going to be sharing a biological background on Kevin Day.
Kevin Day currently serves as councilman for the City of Independence, where he brings decades of leadership experience and a deep understanding of business, finance, and community service. Mr. Day retired from the Western Reserve Group, where he held the roles of president, CEO, and chairman of the board. Under his leadership, the organization strengthened its financial position and expanded its reputation for stability, integrity in the insurance industry. He is a proud graduate of Ashland University, earning a bachelor's degree in Science and Business Administration with a majors in Accounting and Finance and a minor in Marketing. His strong financial background continues to serve the community today through his role as chair of the Finance Committee on Independence City Council. Beyond his work in Independence, Mr. Day has demonstrated a consistent leadership across Ohio. He has served as chair of the Ohio Insurance Institute, chair of the Worcester Area Chamber of Commerce, chair of the Holy Name Advisory Board, and chair of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Through his extensive professional and civic experience, Kevin Day has shown a lifelong commitment to responsible leadership, fiscal accountability, and community growth, values he continues to bring to the residents of Independence. Next, I would like to introduce Melina Rodriguez, speaking for Stephanie Rodriguez.
Hi, my name is Melina Rodriguez. My mother, Stephanie Rodriguez, is running for city council, and unfortunately, she could not be here. She is currently at a continuing education conference out of town with my father. And she wrote her bio in the first person, so I will be speaking as if I am her. Please forgive me if I stutter. I am very, very nervous. Dear students, parents, administrators, city officials, and residents, Thank you for the opportunity to tell you about myself and why I'm running for City Council. I'm sorry I can't be here tonight, but as many of you know, learning continues well beyond high school and college. I had committed to a continuing education conference that I could not cancel because of short notice. This event promises to be informative. My hope is that it will inspire students to consider running for public office in the future. My name is Stephanie Rodriguez. I live at 6922 Brookside Road. I am a candidate for Independence City Council. I had the honor and privilege of serving our country's veterans for several years as a clinical pharmacist with the Department of Veterans Affairs. My husband and I are raising our 4 children in this wonderful community going on 12 years. Gabrielle, class of 2024, attends The Ohio State University. Angelo, class of 2025, is at Kent State. Melina, my favorite child, is a junior. And Sophia is a sophomore at IHS. I graduated from Streetsboro High School, class of 1991. I received my bachelor's degree from the University of Akron in 1995 and completed a pharmacy degree from The Ohio State University, class of 1998. And I received my pharmacy license in 1998. I am well known among school-aged families in the community. I have served on several PTO committees at all levels, volunteered at countless events over the years, and currently serve as the treasurer for the Independence Athletic Boosters. As my children represent the 3rd generation of Independence residents in our family, I am strongly committed to maintaining Independence as an outstanding community in which to live, learn, work, and raise a family. I want to hear from the valued residents of this fine city. The issues, concerns, hopes, and desires of the residents should echo in City Hall. I want to be that voice for you. As a homemaker, I practice fiscal responsibility at home. I want to bring this practical approach to the city. If I'm elected, I will prioritize enhancing infrastructure, promoting economic development, supporting high-quality education for our children, advocating for public safety, caring for seniors, and preserving the small-town charm that makes Independence so special. I am not a politician. I am one of you, one that has a love for the city and its citizens. I believe that government should be created by the people, represent them, and serve everyone's interests. That is why I humbly ask for your vote this November for Independence City Council. Thank you.
All right, now that that's concluded, I'd just like to say that thank you to everybody for coming once again. And before we begin asking all of the questions to each of the candidates, we're just going to get a quick background from each of them. So why don't we begin with Matthew Bankner? Would you like to give yours?
Sorry, everyone, I'm going to stand every time I talk because I was raised that you stand when you address a crowd. My deceased mother would come back and haunt me if she saw me sitting. So I will be standing, as Anthony found out the last time. My name is Matthew Bankner. I'm running for City Council. One of the reasons I'm running for City Council is because I believe in this town. I'm not originally from here. I'm one of the few, maybe the first one that's not from here. I moved here with my wife, who graduated in 1992 from Independence High School. She wanted to move back here after we lived in Old Brooklyn, so we have lived here for 10 years with our daughter, who currently is a sophomore at the high school. One of the reasons I'm running is because I was raised to know right from wrong, and I was raised that if you see something wrong, you do something about it. And those of us that live on Stone went through something these past 2 years with Concordia, and that prompted me to run for no other reason than our voices were not being heard. And I'm not a politician, just as Stephanie said, or her daughter said on her behalf. I'm not a politician either, but I feel like we need someone to actually listen to the residents of this town and follow what the residents say when we vote. And that is why I'm running. I ask for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move on to Cheryl Chase, or Dr. Cheryl Chase.
That's fine. Hi. I'm so glad you stood because I was back there watching the school board going, I can't see. So hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Cheryl Chase. I'm a lifelong resident psychologist with a practice on Rockside Road. I'm a proud mother, and I'm a business owner. I have been serving this city for over 50 years. Yes, I'm that old. I remember walking up and down Brecksville Road in my Girl Scout uniform on Clean Up Ohio Day. I was born and raised here, and my children have been raised here. I have 3 kids, my oldest two have purchased homes here in the city as well, which is what was kind of the biggest boost for me because my grandkids are going to be here, and now I have some skin in the game. Professionally, I hold a PhD as a psychologist. I have a practice on Rockside. People all across the nation turn to me for leadership, and I'm trusted. I've also run businesses in healthcare, food service, and manufacturing, and I serve on 2 nonprofit boards. Locally, I have volunteered with our community emergency response team for over 20 years. I do the disaster psychology training, and I've been asked now to train all other CERTs in the region. I'm the first woman to have been appointed to the Planning Commission. I have weighed in on over 50 decisions, some of which were not very popular, but had to be made. And I have been known to be a person who asks difficult questions. I've been stopped and told, I appreciate the questions that you're asking. I'm not here because one hot button issue pissed me off. I'm here because I live in this city. I plan on staying in this city. My kids are raising their families in this city. I've been giving to the city for over 50 years, and I plan on continuing. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Rebecca Somnitz, please.
Hi, thank you very much. My name's Rebecca Somnitz, and I'm excited to be running for City Council for the first time. I am very involved in the city in many different aspects, from owning a small business in the center of town, to purchasing a commercial building in the center of town, to having public school children. I think this is a benefit to somebody on council because I think it gives me a different perspective that other people might not have or might not know about when they're making decisions. To give you some background on me, I grew up here, moved here when I was in 3rd grade. I went to the primary school, I went to the middle school. I'm a high school graduate, year 2000. I went on to the Ohio State University to earn my degree in communications. After that, I moved to Chicago, where I worked in association management. I probably worked with associations that you've been with, to learn how to run basically businesses. I was the education arm, so I planned a lot of their continuing medical education conferences that Stephanie is probably at right now. That gave me a great perspective. While I was there, I decided to get married. And as cliche as it sounds, I was trying to find a wedding dress, couldn't find something I liked. My high school friend at the time was living in Chicago, and we said, we should open up our own bridal shop. And that's what we did. So a year of planning, we thought it would be great to bring it back to Cleveland, and that would bring us back to Independence because we knew we always wanted to raise our family here. So in 2010, I moved back. I opened Something White on Sunset Avenue. I was there for 13 years in the same building as the bike shop. Then in 2023, I took the step to buy the building behind Dairy King, and I renovated it and made it into 2 retail spaces. So Something White is on one side, and then I can rent out the other side. And this is what probably really spurred me to run for council. I actually really enjoyed renovating the building. I wanted to do something in Independence. I looked at everywhere in Cleveland to move my bridal shop, but I knew I wanted to stay here. And so that was kind of the reason where I was like, I can do more. I can help more. So I felt like running for city council would be the next step and the next way that I could help our city continue to be a premier suburb of Cleveland.
Thank you very much. Let's have Sarah Swesda.
Hi, it's Sarah Sweda, and very nice to see everyone, have the opportunity to speak with you. I've been in Independence for 14 years. to give you a little bit about my professional background, I've worked for the city part-time since 2011 for the Recreation Department. For most of my career, I've been an educator, and prior to that, I was a journalist. So covering city council meetings, being involved in planning commission, and seeing how city budgets are passed and kind of how the system works is nothing new for me. I have been working with the city almost since the month after I moved in 14 years ago to address issues that were going on primarily with development. And through those 14 years, I've finally come to the decision that as somebody who has only been here for 14 years, and you see how things are done differently in other towns, that I really think it's probably time for us to expect more. And so that's the slogan for my campaign, expect more. I'm running on 4 pillars. They are improved, expanded, and a supportive safety. They are responsible economic development that also keeps the unique, historic small-town feel of Independence while providing the necessary funds that we need to keep our wonderful services. I'm also running on a platform of communication, because when I was certainly trying to communicate with city council members, especially over the last 2 years, I received very little response. And so that's one of my pledges to you, that within 24 hours of you reaching out to me by phone or by email, you will have a response from me. And so then a budget and fiscal responsibility is the 4th pillar of my campaign. I'm pretty fiscally conservative. I think we all know how to live within a budget, or we're expected as adults to live within a budget. And I believe we can do that in the city while still keeping our wonderful services, but also taking care of some of the things that have probably been neglected, as I hear from residents. Your sewers, your water issues, the infrastructure problems that we have. And so sometimes if some of those tough decisions need to be made, I feel very confident in my ability to make those decisions and make sure that you are well informed of those decisions all along the way as we're making those decisions. So I don't want anything to come as a surprise to any of you. I think in a town as small as Independence, and with the technology that we have today, it should be pretty easy for your city council to have a real nice pulse on what you want, and to also be able to communicate with you in a very transparent way, what we're thinking, what we're planning, what the administration is thinking and planning, so that you're well informed, and that you know that I'm a good steward of your tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Anthony Tagliotti, please.
First, I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy evening to come here and learn about all of your candidates and really engage with local government. I applaud all of you, so thank you for being here. Now a little bit about me. I'm a product of the City of Independence, graduate of Independence High School, class of 1995. After high school, went on to Kenyon College, where I studied biology and anthropology, played football and ran track. During my time at Kenyon, I also conducted biomedical research studies at Harvard Medical School and Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. And I was able to graduate from Kenyon in 3.5 years, so I used that additional semester to accept a contract to play professional American football in Denmark. So I lived and worked internationally. When the season ended, I came back to the States and continued my biomedical research at Harvard and MIT, which then led me into a career management business consulting in the chemicals industry, which again took me living and working internationally and globally, helping businesses to fine-tune and optimize their operations. That ended when the economy shifted in the mid-2000s and we had a dot-com bubble burst. At that point in time, I was living in Antwerp, Belgium. I moved back home to Independence, ended up marrying an Independence girl, IHS grad of 98. settled down, set in roots here in Independence, raised two boys who are now 13 and 15 years of age. And at that point in time, I realized that my parents were here, my sisters, my brothers, my children. I really wanted to get involved and help to make Independence the best it can be. And fast forwarding, I've been your city councilman for 12 years. 8 of those years I've served as your vice mayor. I've also served 4-year term as the mayor of the city of Independence. And in that time, I really believe that I have acted as the voice of the people. I believe that I engage with the members of the community, our constituents, and get a pulse for the community to better represent everyone in this room and in this community on the floor of City Council. And sometimes it may be the descending vote, as it was on the Concordia issue and some other issues, but in the end, I do feel that I am a true representative of the people of Independence, and every day I strive to better the city and to make it the best that I possibly can. And with that experience with the City of Independence, my background in science and business, I ask you for your vote on November 4th because I think I'm a great candidate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, Councilman Dale Vaverka.
Very good. Well, first of all, I want to thank the high school, especially the students and the principal, and I hear that Mr. McGuinness was also involved in setting this up. I don't think there's anything more important than hearing the people that are hoping to get your vote. So having a program like that is really critical. People often ask me, how did you become involved in politics? Well, as a science teacher for 34 years, educated at Kent State University with a bachelor's and a master's degree, went to Independence primary, middle, and high schools. So definitely have been a member of this community for approximately 60 years. So member of the community, but not an extremely involved member of the community in my early years here. What started to get me more involved in this community was about a little over a dozen years ago. At that time, there was a question on whether or not Steel League Road was going to be developed and how it was going to be developed and what went on. And as I observed from the sidelines, I noticed that there was some dissension as to whether or not Steel League Road should be the entrance that it is or not. And it was called to a referendum by the residents. To me, it was really important that the residents had an opportunity to share their opinions and their attitudes. And at that time, just before the vote was to take place, there were a whole bunch of trees in the one area that were taken down basically to sway the residents in their votes toward that referendum. So from that point on, I became very much interested in city government. I attended virtually every council meeting starting back in 2012. I ran for the first time in 2013 and visited virtually every home in Independence to talk to residents. Was not elected. Ran again in 2015, was not elected. And as they say, maybe the third time is the charm. So I ran in 2017 saying, well, if they don't want me. Anyway, each time I've attempted to visit with every single resident in the city, every single home, and finally in 2017 became a member of your city council. I have served now for 4 terms, 8 years. I think it's very important to listen to residents. I answer my phone, I answer emails. I try to be as responsive as I can to residents, and I try to best represent what I believe the residents want. Sometimes that puts me in a position where I'm, as they say, fighting City Hall because the presentation, the item, the ordinance is one that I don't think is in the best interest of the residents. So for that reason, I am very willing to say, no, I don't think it's right. I am not willing to vote for that. I will stand by my voting record, and I would hope you please consider me for this last, final, 5th term. Thank you.
And finally, Councilman Chris Walchanowicz.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm finishing up my 6th year. When I initially ran in 19, I ran on safety for our community. At the time, Mayor Tagliotti was in, so I spoke with him. I spoke to candidate Mayor Kurtz, because I had a lot of issues with what was going on Rockside Road. I wasn't fond of the current police chief that we had at the time. So when I first ran, it was all about the safety for our community and our residents and our workforce and the people that come here to work every day. So talking with them, it kind of really sparked inside it. You know, I wanted to get in and try to maintain better safety for our community. And so far, with our new hire of Chief Butler and a fully filled staff of officers, our safety is way better than it was 6 years ago when I started. Other things, I did graduate from Independence in 1994. I have 2 daughters. One's a junior and one's a 5th grader. I've been married for 18 years. My wife is not from Independence. I apologize. But that's okay. She's from Brook Park, and I learned a lot from my in-laws from the other side of town. I've learned a lot in these last 6 years. Unfortunately, you know, there's good and there's bad. One biggest thing I learned is you're never going to make everybody happy when you have to vote on something. We know that the last few years with the Concordia property, you know, it was hard decisions that had to be made, and there was several people that were they were not interested in that facility, that development. But there was also a tremendous amount of people that wanted to downsize, but they wanted to stay in our community, but there was no place for them to go. So those were some really tough decisions that I had to make, both as a council member and on the BZA board to pass variances so that development would work. I'm not disappointed in my votes on those because I feel if residents want to stay in the community, they should have the opportunity. And at the time, we didn't have an opportunity for residents to stay. And as Mayor Kurtz always said, you know, we hate to see residents leave that have been there their entire lives. Now we have the opportunity for many, many residents to stay or many residents to come back. I appreciate the high school and Mr. McGuinness, Mr. Janatovich, and all the work that you've put in for this. Thank you, and I hope I see your vote in November.
Once again, thank you very much to all the candidates for sharing your backgrounds. We'll now begin the questions.
Please hold. Hello, my name is Matthew Shamblin. Thank you to everyone for coming. Thank you for all the candidates. And I'm going to be starting off with questions for all of the candidates, and I'll be starting with one candidate, and then others can answer after the first one. So let's get started with a question to, how about Vice Mayor Anthony Tagliotti. What is the #1 issue that you wish to work on if elected, and how do you propose that it be fixed? Yes, how do you propose it to be fixed?
Well, that's a great question. City of Independence has many issues. Councilman Walchanowicz stressed on safety. It is obviously one of our top priorities, but we have been gaining headway in that. I think right now, Council has been having a lot of discussions about infrastructure prioritization, primarily with the water line that runs north and south down Brecksville Road. That water line is 99 years old, and I believe it broke 7 times this year, is what I was told, which, when you're living in an upscale community like Independence, is simply unacceptable. There's 87 homes that are connected with lead connections up and down Brecksville Road. So 87 of our homeowners are drinking from water that comes through lead lines. Again, I believe that is unacceptable in the city of Independence. So I view that as our #1 top priority. Council has agreed amongst itself to prioritize that issue. We are going to be replacing the section of water line from Rockside Road north to the Cornerstone of Hope, and then we're also doing engineering for the water line from Sprague to Pleasant Valley. Hopefully we can also accomplish the remaining. It's an incredibly expensive undertaking, something that we should have been budgeting for decades. Unfortunately, we did not, so now we have to make up the time and get it done to ensure that the quality of life does not suffer for the residents of Independence.
Thank you very much. Do any of the other candidates have anything they want to add to the question of the #1 issue that they would like fixed? Or, oh, yes, Councilman Vaverka.
The importance of infrastructure is indeed a high priority. Obviously, being the chairman of the Utilities Committee, we have fought hard to make sure that we focus on those concerns. The piece that goes along hand in hand with that is the income that the community receives has only increased slightly over past years, but the investment in infrastructure has not moved in the way that would continue to make our community a successful one. We continue to spend more money on employees. We spend money on other items that are not as critical as the infrastructure. And to me, one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle is, as we focus on our plan for 2026, our 5-year plan, all of these items are critical as we focus on maintaining the sewer lines, the water mains, and the roadways in the community.
Thank you very much. Yes, Rebecca, wait, sorry.
Somnitz.
Somnitz,
You
sorry.
got it.
I wanted to get it right, I'm sorry.
No, you're
Rebecca
fine.
Somnitz.
So yes, I agree, infrastructure is huge, but I think we have to think beyond just repairing that water line. I think we also have to think, what are the other items that we want to get done? Personally, I live on Chestnut, and I know people who live on Brecksville Road and Chestnut know about the cars that are running up and down at all hours of night. It's kind of like a drag race. So I feel like if we're going to be ripping up those roads, what is the best way that we can put them back together? What way can we make cars slow down? Because just asking them to slow down is not working. Does that mean we should put in roundabouts? Does that mean that we put in some other feature? And I also think that if we're going to do infrastructure on 21, it also is going to tie into what we want to do for the center of town. I know that's a hot button item, and obviously one that's close to my heart since I live in the center of town and work in the center of town, and I have a building in the center of town. So I think we have to look at all these things at once and not just say we need to repair the water line, but what does that mean for all the other things?
Thank you very much. Oh, yes, Cheryl Chase.
Thank you. So, yes, safety. Yes, infrastructure. But the biggest reason that I chose to go ahead and run is because I have buried 9 people because of drug-related tragedies that came from this city. My brother, 2 of my cousins, as well as other people I went through high school with. I think our city has an addiction and a chemical dependence problem. And I want to be aware that this is not something that I want to ignore, but I want to address. I want to be open to it, and I want to support our residents because I know in my office, I hear a lot of mental health concerns. I know in my practice, and I know personally, I get a lot of phone calls from residents and people I went to school with who are concerned about their children and concerned about chemical dependence. So absolutely infrastructure, absolutely safety. My son is a police officer, and I back everything our city wants to do safety-wise. But I'm also very concerned about the mental health in our community. I also want to say that I adhered to the 90-second thing at the beginning, so if you want to know more about me, email me, CherylChase@outlook.com, and I have packets in the back that can tell you more about me. I didn't go into my background because I follow the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew Benkner.
Thank you. Mama Benkner would have been very proud of everyone at this table for standing. I think something that ties not only infrastructure but safety plus economic growth is Rockside Road. I think Rockside Road desperately needs attention. There are a bunch of half-empty buildings that are almost relics of a time gone by. Those businesses are not coming back. Those were office jobs that are either being done remote or just don't exist anymore. Those buildings are standing there half-empty, and we all know about the problems in the hotels. We need some focus on Rockside because Rockside gone unchecked. We have low taxes that won't continue if Rockside isn't addressed. We need to clear half those buildings, move them into the other half, and bring in something regional, something that attracts people. Let's face it, we Independence people, we're not going to shop at a Crocker Park if it's here. We don't want that here. But if it's a regional, something bigger, Bass Pro Shop, something big that brings people from all over Northeast Ohio, that can actually do a lot for our taxes if we have something like that on Rockside Road as opposed to buildings that aren't really doing much right now. So I think Rockside Road ties all of those things together.
Thank you very much. We'll be asking now what potential future developments for the city and the center of town do any of the candidates have in mind? And we're going to start with, how about Sarah Sweda. Yeah, Sweda. Thank you.
Am I on now? Yes, I am. It's Sweda, but that's okay. I know it's a toughie. So the future development in the center of town is actually part of my economic development pillar that I'm running on. And so I think we have a lot of different opportunities. I think that from what I hear from residents, we would like to see something that is a vibrant, dynamic, mixed-use space. And so what does that include? So the CVS is almost at capacity. We're having the CVS space that we're still working with. Some of the empty storefronts, the city owns quite a few of those buildings, and so we have an opportunity there to decide what we're going to do with them. Are they going to be office? Are they going to be retail? Are we going to even keep them there still? Or are we going to do something else with them to open up that space more? And then that opens up that space from where we're running across Stone Road to the middle school property and then into the CVS space. So right now there's a lot of green space there, and then it's broken up by a parking lot and CVS and retail and 2 more retail spots. And so there have been plenty of plans that have been passed around. I'm not sure how much resident input there has been about this. And I would certainly like to see, unlike some of the other building plans that have happened, for there to be multiple plans in place, multiple plans presented to residents so we can, all make an informed decision.
Thank you very much. Do any of the other candidates have a response? Yes, Rebecca Som.
Did you see me shoot my arm up? Because I've got lots of things. So I think the center of town is really interesting for a lot of reasons. We obviously need to do something with it, but I think we have to carefully do something with it. I don't think that Independence is meant to ever have a Pinecrest or a Crocker Park. I think it needs to be done carefully so that it retains its charm. We did a study in 2015 with Fairmont Partners, and I do think, if you were around then, that I do think that they asked a lot of input. I know that I went to every single meeting, and they provided a very in-depth analysis of what we should do and the things we need to do and what it could look like. I think something that would be really interesting is Fairmont didn't work out because a developer didn't come in, and I don't know if a developer is for Independence. Is there a different way to go about revitalizing the center of town? With the Cavs facility, we do something called a ground lease where we own the land and they came in and built their property. We still get tax benefits from it. Is there something that we can do where we give benefits to small businesses to come in so that it can be that quaint center of town that we want and not something that we have to bring in big chain stores? I also think it gets really tricky because obviously CVS we don't own, but I think there's really interesting things that we could do if we just looked at it in a different way than what we've typically been looking at.
Thank you very much. Yes, Cheryl Chase.
I think part of our planning for the center of town has to take into consideration the safety forces flying through downtown. Who is going to want to develop up there when on the regular, our safety forces have to go through the center of town? So anything that happens in the center of town is going to be attractive to someone after we figure out how to get our safety forces safely on the Rockside and back home.
Thank you very much. Yes, Chris Welch-Janowitz.
So I have to say, over the past 5 years, Jessica Heiser, our economic developer, and her department has worked tirelessly to bring new businesses in on Rockside Road. Not every business that wants to come is a perfect fit, so we have to really monitor who and what types of companies come here. I agree with, a mall and shopping, we need more of a, light industrial, a lab like Row Industries on Pleasant Valley. And with the center of town, we are in talks with St. Michael's Church and the Catholic Diocese to try to sprucing up the east side of the square to make it more presentable, to fix up the parking lot for, residents that use the barber shop. We don't, residents that go to St. Michael's that have to cross the street to park by CVS, we want to make that more feasible for them. And with all that being said, it would, start to really sprucing up the center of town to be more attractive for developers to come in.
Thank you. Do any of the other candidates have anything for that question? No? Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to our next topic. Our next topic is asking about adding sidewalks on Sprague Road. How do we feel about that? Let's begin with Councilman Dale Viverka. How do you feel about that?
Interesting question. Anytime we try to put sidewalks in any area, there always is a kind of a combination of the yes people and the no people. Some of the people on Sprague that I've spoken with said, I like the rustic look that we have. Other people would be, well, we know how the traffic is. When I was campaigning on Sprague Road and all those multiple times that I was riding my bicycle, I was in fear of my life. So, well, that's not that funny. Anyway, but the idea of sidewalks on the north side of the street, on the Independence side of the street, is definitely something reasonably approachable. One of the problems with that street is it is a county road, but we have managed to do improvements on county roads along the way also. So I definitely think that it's worth considering. The question is, how far do we go? What do we do when we get to 77? There are definitely some other areas of concern, but definitely the idea of sidewalks is worth considering.
Yes, Councilman Welch-Janowitz.
So, Sprague Road sidewalks. I have several friends that live on Sprague, and they have children the same age as my daughter Cameron, who's in 5th grade. And that is a constant question for me, being on streets and sidewalks. A few years back, we did put sidewalks in on Hillside to make it more feasible to go from Hawthorne Trace to get to school, to get to the park. I don't know if does anyone live on Sprague that's here currently? So there is a speeding issue on Sprague Road also. So the kids really, they can't take their bikes and go to 21 to go to the park. So hopefully in the future, we can work with the mayor and really set forth a plan to put sidewalks in. As Dale mentioned, it's a necessity at this point. I'm, firmly believe, almost all of our streets should have sidewalks. Where I grew up and still live on Willow, we've never had sidewalks. All the kids have always been in the street, and it's never been safe. So yeah, we should all get on board and push for sidewalks.
Awesome. Yes, please. Rebecca Smith.
I'll just add that I don't know if you guys read Cleveland Magazine or if you read anything about the suburbs that are around Cleveland, but I do, because I like to know what's going on in other cities. And Bay Village, they were just, the third best suburb in Cleveland, voted by Cleveland Magazine, and they have 100% of sidewalks. I think the younger generations that are coming up want more walkability in cities, so I think that is going to be something that homeowners are looking for or home buyers are looking for when they're looking around at the different suburbs. So I am also a runner, and I'm a huge proponent of sidewalks.
Does anybody else have any input on that? No? Oh. Yes.
Yes, sidewalks are a necessity on Sprague. We should have sidewalks on every street in our city. The complexity with Sprague Road is that it is a road that on one side is the city of Independence, on the south side is the city of Brecksville. Both cities would love to have sidewalks through that entire stretch. It's a very long stretch of road, which makes it a very expensive project. I know that the City of Independence and the City of Brecksville have been in talks for years to try to come up with some sort of shared funding agreement. Who's going to pay how much, which side the sidewalk will be on, the north or the south. So we are hopeful that it will happen in the near future. It's just a matter of working cooperatively between the two cities and bringing it to fruition.
Thank you. So moving on to our next topic, we've had some responses about asking if you would be willing to cut city programs that operate at a loss, and if so, which ones? So let's begin by asking Rebecca Somnitz.
Cutting programs, can you repeat it? Cutting programs even if they're...
Cutting programs that operate at a loss, so
Yes.
that are losing money.
So when you're looking at a city in general, there are probably a lot of programs that operate at a loss, and that's what a city does with fire, police. They're not going out every single day, but we still need them. So I think I would look at what programs we're talking about, look at your budget. Is there anywhere that you can move around money and make it work? If not, is this a program that maybe it doesn't make a lot of money, but it makes a lot of residents happy? I know Fall Fest has been on the chopping block in the past, but I know it's one of the community's favorite events. So you find a way to make it work. I think it just goes back to fiscal responsibility. I don't think that fiscal responsibility means never spending money because you won't get anything done, but I think you just have to look at what you have and move things around.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Sweeter.
So to echo what Rebecca says, so as somebody who's worked in recreation for 10 years, recreation is a great example of a program. The pool is one, right? So we love these platinum facilities, but the pool is always going to be something that we're losing money on. And so I think that, anyone who cares about the city is going to look at programs and the quality of life of our residents and, weigh those decisions. So I've said before at public events that, I have zero desire to, raise rates for those programs as a solution. I think that there are other, from going to the city council meetings over the past couple of years, I know that there are spots that we can cut spending that are not programs that will directly affect the residents in a negative way.
Sorry, I'd just like to ask, what would some of those be like? Which areas would you cut?
So there's a program right now that is funded by the city to the tune of about $25,000 a year. It's a program that is faith-based, although they say that it's, a secular program. I believe that it services about 10 students. And so that would be an example of a program that I feel the cost to benefit analysis of that is problematic. And so I believe that, as council members, we have a duty to, watch your pocketbooks and to go through and look at those kind of programs and, some cost benefit analysis for the pool. The benefit that the residents clearly have from that facility greatly outweighs. The number of residents who are serviced by that facility greatly outweighs the cost. But other programs like the one I just shared with you, I think is a perfect example of something that we need to look critically at.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to add anything different to that? Yes.
So with our programming, whether it's through community services side or the recreation side, as a city, we're not here to make money off our residents when it comes to programming, whether it's, children's sports, whether you're playing basketball or baseball or, a good example is the city of Seven Hills charges roughly $400 for a family pass for their civic center. And everybody knows that we pay under $100 for ours. I'm sure there's, we have one of our biggest programs is senior snow plowing. And we have over 800 residents that sign up for that yearly. And, if we have a horrible winter, that program would cost the city well into the six figures to cover snow plowing. But that's not a program that any of us would be willing to cut because it's something that we do for all of you guys. So yeah, it's really, when it comes to cutting certain programs or any, it's hard because there's a lot of people that, they need these programs. It's just, I got 30 seconds, but I have way more to say, so I'll leave it at that.
All right. Thank you very much for your responses. So does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Yes, Bankner.
Just to go off of that, I had the pleasure of coaching my daughter's rec league basketball team for a year and learning what it's like to try and herd cats when they were in grade school. And there's no way that program operated in the black. But it was very important for those girls because they were not wanting to be, or maybe weren't even good enough to be on the school's team, but they still wanted to be part of a team. They wanted to do something. They loved basketball. They loved the game. They just wanted to be able to do it in a less competitive way. But that program was very important to them, as was for me, because I got to spend time with my daughter and actually try to coach this basketball team. So I think even if there's things that maybe not operating in the black, you got to look at them case to case because some of these kids don't have the opportunities that the other ones have, and this gives them an opportunity to be a part of a team, and you can't put a price on that.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to contribute? All right, moving on to the next topic. It's somewhat similar. Some have asked, why are we putting landscaping along 480 and 77 when the money could be spent on infrastructure or somewhere like aging water mains like we were talking about? Let's begin with Chris, what is it? Sorry. Cheryl, yeah, Cheryl. Doctor.
All right. So, not being on council, I can't speak deeply to the topic, but I can tell you that Jessica, our Economic Development Director, was sharing with us the variables that attract businesses to cities. And some of those variables include the landscaping in the main ingress and egress points of a city. So when you get off the highway, you know you're in Independence when you get off at 77. It's different. It feels different and it looks different. So I can't really answer why those decisions have been made by council, but I can tell you that it does attract high-quality businesses. 70% of the money that comes into this city is from people who work in the city but don't live in the city. So we need to keep people coming here to work, and we need to attract businesses to the city. In order to do that, we have to be an impressive city visually.
Awesome, thank you. Would anybody else like to add to that or contribute anything else? No? Oh, yes.
So the landscaping on 480 and 77 and Rockside interchange is it's a line item on our 5-year capital plan right now, and I believe it totals $3.5 million. And when we as City Council sit down, we prioritize our projects and our expenditures. Earlier I spoke about the 100-year-old water line with lead connections. When I look at a project like that compared to investing $3.5 million on flowers and mulch on Rockside Road, I tend to steer towards the health and safety of our residents drinking water out of lead pipes. So those are the prioritizations and the difficult decisions that we as council have to make. I understand the value of aesthetics and sense of place and coming into a new community and realizing where you are, and I think that can be accomplished for much less than $3.5 million. The interesting thing to also take home with you is that the $3.5 million, I believe, is for the initial plantings, but then the required maintenance would be in the 6 figures every year. So it's just not a one-time hit economically, it's an annual expense, which council has really yet to fully discuss. So it's just a line item on our 5-year plan right now, and it's yet to be discussed.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to contribute? No? All right, moving on to the next topic. So, what have you done over the past 1 to 2 years to contribute to the success of Independence? Let's please begin with Councilman Dale Vaverka.
Over the last year or two, I've really worked hard to make sure that I'm keeping up with all of the work that I need to keep up with, all the ordinances, viewing them, dealing with the residents that come to me, those residents that contact me, doing my best to try to reflect on their values as I work with my votes, as I determine what seems to be best for the most, which is one of the reasons why at this Concordia issue, it did not, to me, seem to make sense for the vast majority of residents. The price level for the Concordia project pretty much eliminated a great proportion of residents. Most residents are not able to afford that housing without taking out a mortgage after selling their home. So that was one of the topics that I did work at. We were unsuccessful in that case of stopping that project, but I think that the work in defense of the people surrounding it was important.
Thank you very much. Matthew Baker.
To go off of what Dale just said, the last 2 years, Sarah and myself have been attending council meetings on the regular, specifically about that project. And the way in which we've been helping to try and make the city better is to hold city council and the mayor accountable for taking your vote away. This was land that was purchased with taxpayer money and then removed from you to vote on what that land was used for. So we tried to hold them accountable by going and speaking and making sure that our voices were heard, because council meetings are at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, not everyone can attend. So we felt it incumbent upon ourselves to actually be there and try and hold accountability to the people who are not allowing you to vote on something that does affect a lot of people, not just the people on Stone Road. This affects a lot of people. And as Dale just said, the price tag on these houses eliminates the vast majority of the seniors that they claim are going to be kept in the city by these houses. These are 500,000 and up. This eliminates a lot of people from being able to downsize to these houses. So one way that we tried to help was by actually making accountability to the council and to answer to the people and give the people a voice, which was being taken away from them.
Thank you very much. Yes, Dr. Cheryl Chase.
Thank you. So I was the first woman appointed to Planning Commission. And if you know my mom, that probably doesn't surprise you. If you know my dad, that probably doesn't surprise you. But I took the position and I held my head up and I made some tough decisions that some people aren't very happy with. I don't know if y'all realize there were other people trying to purchase that property. And they were going to do whatever they wanted to do with it. They were going to develop it. I don't know the circumstances around how the Concordia property ended up being owned by the city. I've heard rumor. I haven't heard fact. There were other developers looking to develop that as well. So I just want to make it clear that it wasn't going to be a pristine 10-acre old-growth forest. Someone was developing it. I got to sit in on Planning Commission meetings after decisions were made, after the city owned the land, after Petros was chosen, and I was told, hey, here's what we want to do. Good, not good. I was not part of any decision prior to that. So I asked tough questions, and I've been thanked for the questions that I did ask. I also sat in on Planning Commission meetings where I was able to vote to bring CBiz and move their building, because they had lost their lease, create a building that created $800,000 to the city's bottom line, because we had a lot of meetings and we were willing to talk and listen. We have medicine in Independence that wasn't going to be here otherwise. We have people building homes and adding onto homes and expanding 50 different decisions that I've been a part of, and they weren't all just parking spaces. Thank you.
Yes, Sarah Sweeto.
Just have to respond to the Concordia issue because yes, the city brought the property and there was absolutely no reason to turn it around within 18 months into the housing development. Yes, there were housing developers who were out there looking for that land, and I was so grateful and so optimistic and so hopeful when the city purchased that land that we would do something vibrant and smart and innovative and maybe a true senior village, a very Scandinavian concept that, would have put us on the map, and 60 minutes for being, a true senior community. And it is a housing development like it was going to be anyway. And so I really don't think that's the flex that, maybe some people think it is. And I think most of the residents feel the same way.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to go? Okay, so now that that's done, we are going to move on to some of the more personal questions for individual candidates. So Matthew will be asking those.
Let's start with Councilman Vaverka. With respect to your incumbent position as a city councilman, is there anything you would change about your approach to your job if you were reelected?
I really don't think so. I think my approach is to work with the people, to answer the phone, to speak with people face to face. Just this past week, I visited with a resident down the street from me that had some major concerns. I visited for quite a while. We talked about it. We talked with other residents on that particular issue. And that to me is one of my major jobs as being a council person, is being responsible to residents, to be one that'll show up, whether it happens to be a water main break that I go down to keep an eye on, or going down on Stone Road where they were working on the water main and sewer connections this past week. I was down there 2 different times. I think it's important for me to be involved and be connected to the community and answer to residents when they need help.
Thank you very much for your response. Let's get a question for Dr. Cheryl Chase. What type of impact has the civic work you've done had on you? And will it motivate you to do more in the future?
Oh, that's a great question. So my civic work goes back to when I was about 6 and cleaning, as I said, Brecksville Road for Clean Up Ohio Day in my Girl Scout brownie uniform at that time. Volunteering to work at home days, from Independence Biology Society to the treasurer of the preschool co-op to, Planning Commission to coaching the teams to all the different ways that I've been involved in this city. And every one of them reminds me why I was put on this planet, and that is to serve. My life is about service. My career is about service. I was put on this planet to serve others, and this is when I am most on purpose, when I'm listening, when I'm using empathy, when I'm asking tough questions, when I'm opening the floor with no defensiveness, and I'm asking people to be open and honest. That, for me, is when I'm most on purpose. So for me, I think it's allowed me to really feel as though I'm doing exactly what I was put here to do.
Thank you very much. Our next question is for Matthew Benkner. What inspired you to initially run for City Council?
What inspired me to initially run was my kid. My daughter Elsa, who is a sophomore at the high school, she inspired me to run. She's an introvert artist like myself. She would much rather be out in the woods than here with a big group of people, even though she is here. I would much rather be out in the woods than with a big group of people. That's just the way I am. And she inspired me to run because our house happens to be up against the National Forest, and she spends hours walking those trails. And as we started to see that disappear, she came to me and said, is there going to be a point where there's just none left? And I wanted to show her that you can be a part of the solution or you can complain. And the easiest thing in the world is to complain about something. The hardest thing is to actually try to be a part of the solution. And so I thought, well, here's my chance to actually do something about it. So she was my inspiration.
Thank you. The next question is for Councilman Chris Walchanowicz. How has your time as a councilman helped you grow as a public leader?
That's a good question. So with my daily business, I'm in many residents' homes multiple times a year. So, I get this, not just with emails and phone calls, I'm able to speak with residents on a daily basis when I'm either fixing your furnace or fixing your air conditioner. And it helps me communicate from them to other council members or the mayor on issues that they have. Their support has been tremendous, when I'm able to get back with them with their answers. The residents have improved everything for me as a council member.
Thank you. The next question is for Sarah Sweda. As a self-proclaimed independent voice on the City Council, how will you rally your peers on the council to achieve your goals? Or alternatively, how will you settle disagreements if one of the fellow council members isn't on board?
This is a great one. Thank you. So yes, I am independent as a voter and as registered as an independent, and so I thought it was important to also, I believe in myself to be an independent voice on council. So as a professional communicator for about 30 years, being able to compromise, and I was in public relations, so also being able to persuade is, just one of my skill sets. So I, do believe that in a lot of ways it's business, it's not personal. And so I would think that, I might not agree. I'll give you an example. In the interest of full disclosure, I was not a fan of Topgolf. And so does that, stop me from the past however many years from still, talking to Councilman Tagliati or, working with him to make the city better. No, absolutely not. And so I think, anyone who is in a leadership position is, has to be able to take their lumps respectfully and be respectful, to their opposition. Because I would say out of everyone sitting here tonight, that we all do care about what happens and that we all do care about independence. And so how much animosity could there possibly be when you really believe that the people that you're going to be working with are operating in your best interests? And I can totally, respect and reach across the line, I will fight for you. I've said that too, right? So, I will fight for you when I think it's right or wrong. But, in the end, we all still have to work together. And by working together, I do believe, we'll accomplish more.
Thank you very much. The next question is for Rebecca Somnitz. It sounds like you have a lot of experience being both a business owner and a property owner in this city. How will experiencing this and just being a business owner and a property owner, how will it affect your decision making if you're elected to the council?
Well, I think it gives me a different perspective, right? So I'm not just a resident, and I'm not just a business owner. I'm a business owner in Independence and a small business owner in Independence and a commercial property owner in Independence. So I think by having that distinction of being in Independence, I'm always thinking about what the best thing is, not just for my business, but for the city, because I also live here. So I think I would take an approach of looking at everything and all-encompassing and coming up with the best decisions rather than just relying on one skill set that I have in the city. So all-encompassing.
Thank you. This will be the last question for the night. This is for Vice Mayor Tagliati. Please give us your most proud or your most impressive achievement in your 12 years serving as a city councilman.
That's a great question. Serving as a city councilman or serving as public service with the City of Independence? Okay. Because there's a differentiation there because my greatest accomplishment was in my first year as mayor, 2016. There was a tremendous amount of activity within Northeastern Ohio. We had the RNC in Cleveland in 2016. And we had a number of the delegations staying in our hotels on Rockside Road. And leading up to that, I had our IT department install a camera on the top of the Crown Center building. And this is a camera that can pan, tilt, and zoom. So you can move it all around and you can zoom in and see license plates up in Cuyahoga Heights on East 71st Street and things over in City View Center and Garfield Heights. It's really incredible. But getting back to my most proud moment as the City of Independence was that moment, the first day of the 2016 RNC convention when all of the delegates from Independence were released from their hotels and there were buses coming down Quarry Lane and Rockside Woods North and all the different streets, and we were watching it from our dispatch center. And everything was going well until we noticed a guy on the roof of Denny's. And it raised all of our alarms. And the police were on it. Next thing you know, we shut Denny's down, and it was an HVAC tech changing the filter on top of the building. It was a bad day for him. It was a bad day for him, but the City of Independence looked fantastic for the RNC. We had nothing but compliments. Everything went off without a hitch, and I think that's my proudest moment.
Thank you very much for the response. And thank you to all our candidates and the audience for coming out tonight.
As we conclude, let's give a round of applause to the students that were able to host this. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending. It was a pleasure. It's a proud moment of a principal when you have students that can do something like this. So thank you, and go Blue Devils.